when I got there. That's where it was. And I didn't do anything with that because I was still in Pusan. I don't even know what I was doing in Pusan. I mean, I wasn't working on a radar at the time. And so anyway, when they started pushing north, that's when I went north, and we went to Pyeongtaek was the first place I was at, and that's where our radar was. And I guess it was, I don't remember if it was an air base there or not, I don't remember. But it was at Pyeongtaek, and that was a nice flat area where we went on a mountain, and I went to Pyeongtaek, and I worked on the radar for a while. Then we moved further north to Kimpo, and that was where an air base was. And and we were up on a mountain next to the air base, and Seoul was about maybe 20-30 minutes to the east and north of us. And but Seoul was free then. I mean, there was no war going on in Seoul. And I stayed at Kimpo Air Base, and we didn't go anywhere. The Army was still going north, but all we did was, we were aircraft and radar. We had to stay on the mountain and control the aircraft from the base that we were at. And the only time we saw anything is when they would fly over in their little planes and throw stuff out the window. I mean, out of the plane. There wasn't no window. One of them was like 2 open seats, and one would drive the plane, and the other one would throw grenades and I can't think what I said the other thing was, but the mortar shells.
Mortars.
And throw it out at the airport, trying to get, getting the planes that are parked there. And I stood up on the mountain and watched them fly right under me, and they didn't try to do anything to our radar that I know of. Well, I know they didn't, but they probably weren't prepared for that. But they were more interested in knocking the aircraft out on the ground. But they came by us several times, and that was the big Jet Charlies. So see, so that's where I stayed till the end, till I left, because I was strictly radar maintenance, and we would guide our planes with a radar. That's where I said I was standing by the radio on top of the mountain one day, and the radar was on one peak. It's not that steep big a mountain, but because you could walk up the road. They had a road up, but one part of the mountain was our radar, and over on the other side was another couple peaks, but they were just radio communications vans over there. But they had a place that they could park, like we had a place that our radar was that big, and we had to have it, and it moved around. So you had to have a open area to run the radar, and then the radios were on the other side, because they couldn't couldn't get on the same. The radar might ruin the radio. I don't know. Could, if it was, that close to it. So the radios are on the other side, and so on. Just 2 peaks, and they're not even peaks; they're flat areas. And then a little, not too far, a little further to the south of both of them, was another little flat area, and that's where our supplies came in. That's where we had our supply shed. When supplies come in, they'd come into there, and then we could get supplies from there. But that was the supply area, and So there was 3 areas on top of the mountain that we had, and then, like I say, the aircraft would fly lower, and I imagine they were almost on. They didn't, because the supply place was further away. Well, the radio and the supply was further away from the air base, not that much, but the air base was on the ground over here, and those 2 places were there, and our radar was up here, and anyway, we had 3 places on top of the mountain, that, on the peaks of the mountain, 3 that we were stationed, and we never left there while I was there anyway. And another outfit, we had another outfit, we were 606, I think the other one was 605. They were completely east of us on the ocean side. I can't think of the name of the towns there, but they were shipping ports, and that's where our other radar was, over there, and that moved up after we did, and I don't think, well, I don't know, I left while we were there, and I had no inkling that we were going to move up further, because the other one that came up after we did, the one on the eastern shore, and I can't even, Chitose, no, that's Japan. I can't remember. I'd have to get a map and see where some of those, because Pusan was all the way down south of Korea, South Korea, and then we went up to Pyongyang, Pyeongtaek rather, which was halfway to, well, closer to halfway to Seoul. Then Kimpo was a couple miles, maybe 10 miles from Seoul, further north from the area, the length of, Seoul area, and then our sister outfit was all the way east of that, and I can't remember the Taegu, could be Taegu, but I'm not sure about that. I don't remember the names of the towns. But we're on a mountain. At the foot of the mountain was a lady that I knew. I always talked to her. She had 2 older daughters, and the daughters had 2 little kids, 5 and 3, and I had Mom send me a dress for the 5-year-old, and the 3-year-old, she sent me pants, but I thought it was a boy, because he was wearing pants, and so I gave, the little girl had a pretty little pink dress, and the boy had pants. I mean, the other girl, the smaller, younger girl, just had pants and a t-shirt, and her husband was a doctor, and the area they lived in next door to their house, was a hospital, and that's where he worked. Then, while I was there, he moved out of there. Well, the family still lived there, but he went up the road maybe a half a mile, and they built a new building, and that's where the doctor practiced then. And that was at Kimpo, and they were still there when I left, and when I went back 10 years later, they were still there. Well, maybe his hospital wasn't there on the first time. It might have been there the second time I went over. But I went back, and they were still there, but there was no war going on then. And the girls were in high school, and they were showing me that they could write English, real fancy writing. And they were probably 3 and 5 when I was there the first time, and this was probably 10 years later, so they were probably 15 and 12 or something. I don't know how old they were. Could be more than that, I don't know. And still had the same mother, and well, the lady that I knew well was the mother of the grandmother of the little kids. And it was, and I knew them pretty well. I always talked to the lady and the kids, even when I went back the second time when you were born. I went down and saw them for quite a bit, you know, when I went over to Korea. I only went short times to Korea then. I'd go over and I'd be working somewhere, and I'd have to, I was probably going to Seoul or maybe at the air base. Maybe the radar was still there. I don't even remember. But I did go back and saw well,
What are you doing? Going to bed in the chair?
yeah, no, I'm sitting down.
What time is it?
I'm going to bed, almost 9 o'clock,
What time do you usually go to bed?
almost 8 o'clock.
So what the heck are you doing up still?
Well, you're listening to me.
So you're chatting?
Yeah.
All right, night-night.
Yeah. Well, that kept me up a little later today.
Yeah, we'll talk more tomorrow about Korea. I'll put the show on again.
Well,
Okay?
the show don't mean anything to me because I'm not familiar. They didn't even mention any of the towns.
Didn't matter. It reminded you, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it reminded you, and then you had a whole lot of stories to tell.
Yeah, but
What'd you have for breakfast?
I don't even remember.
I know, but you remember 50 years ago.
No, I didn't have any breakfast. It's 50 years ago.
I know, but you remembered what you said 50 years ago.
Yeah.
What happened 50 years ago, didn't you?
Yeah.
But you can't remember that raisin bread you had for breakfast.
Yeah, but couldn't remember the names of the towns.
Doesn't matter.
Pyeongtaek, I remember, and Pyongyang was where my outfit came from when the Chinese started south, but I wasn't there. I hadn't gotten there yet. I was in Pusan, and so I wasn't there for the getting away.
Where's your dog?
He was behind my chair.
Your dog's a she.
Yeah, she's here.
Yep, okay.
Oh, I better let her go out a little.
Yeah.
Come on, lady. Let's go potty.
Night-night.